Shalom, brothers and sisters. It's Yahuda ben Israel. And it's been about 3 weeks since I made a video. But if you look at the title of this video, what I've been doing is I've actually been looking at other videos on YouTube and hearing other people talk about the law. And I noticed something that I noticed a long time ago. And that is usually when brothers and sisters talk about the law, there's always some sister catching hell. Or when brothers talk about the law, they teach the law, and there's always some sisters catching hell. And that's because when brothers teach the law, they mostly deal with holy days, dietary law, dress code, and how to control sisters. So it's no wonder that sisters get out here and they eventually try to get into the law themselves, because they say to themselves, this can't be all that y'all has for me, especially in certain congregations. And so I just decided just to make a video about this, about how this comes about, off of some of the things that I saw being said on some of these videos about the law and our sisters. You know, it's no wonder sisters don't have a real vision of what their responsibilities are in a lot of ways. Because brothers just could be jackasses when it comes to talking about sisters. I mean, just keeping it real, you know. But I'm going to go ahead and start. And this is one of the ones that tripped me out. It was a young brother, and he was teaching a class, and I understand what he was trying to do, you know, but it was Exodus 22 and verse 16 through 17. I'm just going to go ahead and start. And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. If her father utterly refuse to give her unto him, he shall pay money according to the dowry of virgins. Now, when the brother read the dowry of virgins, what he said was, after that, yeah, man, and then, you know, that money could be converted into child support payments. Now, stop right there. And I'm going to do this with some of this stuff I'm going to read. That makes no sense. It says dowry of virgins. It does not say, it says virgins. If she has had a child, which is about the only way to tell if she's got caught lying with somebody, I mean, it's almost impossible to catch her, especially if she's doing it at home. And it's just almost impossible. So if she ends up pregnant, she has a child, that says dowry of virgins. She's no longer a virgin. No money gets paid to her in any type of child support money. It's not child support, young brother. To all you young brothers out there that want to feel like you want to do the right thing. And here's why this is important. We as Hebrew Israelites do not raise up soft-headed sisters. I'm trying to say it in a nice way. We don't go for it. No. See, our sisters are too important to have them thinking that it's okay for them to make bad decisions and get subsidized for it. It's too important for us to have intelligent sisters, for them to use their brain in between their ears. They are too important to us, okay? So we don't subsidize bad behavior. You know, we don't have sisters where, you know, if the mom and the daddy say, well, how'd you become pregnant? She said, I don't know. Then we got a problem. The mom and daddy know we got a problem. Serious problem. She's not focusing. Somewhere along the line we went wrong. So we don't subsidize this type of behavior. And like I said, I understand the young brother he felt like he was trying to do the right thing, but he just didn't quite understand nation building. And that's part of the problem. When brothers talk about sisters, they don't look at it through the eyes of a nation builder. They just look at it through their own selfish eyes and what they want to go on in their household most of the time. So no, brother, we don't pay, the dowry of the virgins is for just that, a virgin. When I was 18, 19 years old, I'm 38 now, you still had brothers that would tell you, oh, you got a virgin, man, she a virgin, and she a girl, and she like you, and she love you. Oh man, you get with her the first time, you need to keep her. That's what they used to say. Oh man, you need to keep her, because once you had sex with a virgin and she loved you, man, that was it. Then she was on you like that was it. As far as she was concerned, y'all was married pretty much, even if you wasn't. As far as she was concerned, that was it. You know, that's how virgins react. So that's what we are aiming for as Hebrew Israelites. That, here it is, that one man come together with that one woman, and they come together and they're one flesh. So we have that stable household. That's what we're aiming for. And our sisters play a part in that. Now, we as men do too. We get that tough love too. The brothers get the tough love too. But the sisters get the tough love too. We do not allow our sisters to wallow in their vulnerabilities. We do not allow them to say, well, the man did it too. No. Don't get me wrong now. He was wrong too. If you know who he was and if you can catch him and if he admits to it, that's between you and him. And your father. It's my sisters, for those who are watching this video. But if you can't, you made that decision. You made that bed as a sister. You got to lie in it. We do not allow sisters to be soft-headed. We don't play that game. Like I said, it's about one man coming together with one woman. They become one flesh. That's what we're aiming for. That's why we pay for the virgins. See, that's why we look for the virgins. That's why we want y'all to be virgins. Now, before I continue, I want to say one more thing. And I've said this in another video. It's not anything personal against women when we talk about sexual behavior like this. It's just that there is no physical examination that can be given to a man to prove if he had sex or not. It does not exist. There's no examination you can give to a man to say, oh, he's had sex. But there are two ways to tell if a woman has had sex. If her hymen is broken or if she ends up pregnant. So it's nothing personal. It's just no way to tell if a man has had sex. But there are two ways to tell if a sister has had sex. It's just that simple. It really is. So it's not a war against women and their sexual behavior. There's just no way to tell if a man has had sex. So the laws regarding sex are really focused on sisters. And the fact that as a sister, you have to lay down on your back, be on your, however you had decided to allow this man to penetrate you. But that's the key word, allow. Rape is illegal. Okay, the key word is allow. If that brother says, oh, I love you, you say, good, let's get married before we have sex. I'm glad you do. I'm glad you love me. Now let's get married before we have sex. That's supposed to be your answer. Not, oh, I love you too. And then you spread your legs. You messed up as a sister. So that was one of the things that I saw. And like I said, I understand the brother was trying to do, in his mind, do the right thing, but it was the wrong thing. And up to this point, if you notice, sisters still have control over the situation. But the other law that a brother I saw, it was another brother. He's here in Georgia. And that's all I'm going to say. Because, you know, that brother there, on all the videos I saw that brother on, boy, he was jumping up and all over the place. I don't know about him. And I had heard some things about him too. But that ain't what this video is about. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to leave him alone. But it was Deuteronomy. He started off with Deuteronomy 22 and 13 through 24. Scripture that I've dealt with a few times, but never in this type of context. And it says 13, if any man take a wife and go in unto her and hate her, and give occasions of speech against her, and bring up an evil name upon her, and say, I took this woman, and when I came to her, I found her not a maid. Then shall the father of the damsel and her mother take and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity unto the elders of the city and the gate. Verse 16, and the damsel's father shall say unto the elders, I gave my daughter unto this man to wife, and he hateth her. And lo, he hath given occasions of speech against her, saying, I found not thy daughter a maid, and yet these are the tokens of my daughter's virginity, and they shall spread the cloth before the elders of the city. And the elders of that city shall take that man and chastise him, and they shall immerse him in 100 shekels of silver, and give unto the father of the damsel, give them unto the father of the damsel, because he hath brought up an evil name upon the virgin of Israel, and she shall be his wife. He may not put her away all his days. But if this thing be true, and the tokens of virginity be not found for the damsel, verse 21, then they shall bring out the damsel to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her with stones that she die, because she hath wrought folly in Israel, to play the whore in her father's house, so shalt thou put evil away from among you. 23. Oh, that's it. Excuse me. It was verse 13 through 21. Deuteronomy 22, 13 through 21. But and so what the brother said next was, that's when the brother's supposed to divorce her right there. Those are his exact words. One of his guys on the side, who his readers, read the scripture for him. Read that scripture. Then that brother jumped in and said, see, that's when you divorce her. And everybody was like, oh yeah, stop right there. Let's stop for a second now. Now this is a New Testament, brother, so I can go into what Christ said. Now the only reason you're supposed to divorce your wife is in case of adultery. So I guess what this brother is trying to say, if that's the case, if that's the case, then apparently after her wedding vows, sometime later on that night, I don't know if she slept with the best man, she slept with her old boyfriend, had sex, I don't know who she had sex with. But before she had sex with her new husband, apparently she committed some type of adultery, so that was a reason to divorce her, if he goes by what Christ said. If he's just going by what the law says, which is Deuteronomy 24 and verse 1 through 4, which is basically a blanket divorce. If he finds any uncleanness in his wife, then he can divorce her. Now, if that's what he meant, then that's a different story. But here's what's messed up about it. Number one, if that's not what he meant, and if you could only divorce your wife in case of adultery, in case of adultery, which is what Christ said, then what he said made no sense. If that's what he believes in the Messiah. But if he doesn't want to deal with that, what the Messiah said, he just says, well, that's when you divorce her. Well, guess what the sister has done? She has put herself in a position to where she's underneath a man who may not like her, who may not love her, and who may drag her before the elders. Now, I wouldn't recommend a sister put herself in that situation, which is why I understand the law well enough to know that there is no set punishment for playing the whore in your father's household unless you get caught. And we just read the law. What happens if a woman gets caught, even just lying with a man? She has to marry him, and if not, she just doesn't marry the brother. But that's the only set punishment there is. So she can confess before she gets married. And as I said before, the punishment it could be a fine. It depends on how bad things might be in the land. She might get a rod to her backside a couple of times. A hold on how long she gets married. A lot of different things that can happen, but one of those things is definitely counseling, which is also applicable to the first law that I talked about. Because of our healthcare system, she should get counseling. Now, why is that important? Because again, we're looking for a man to come together with a woman and they become one flesh. But we're also putting her in a position where she's not underneath that man. Now let me talk about something that I haven't gone into, and then I'm going to get back to that in this law. I haven't talked about the fact that she could have been raped in the past before she got married. And here's why this is important, because most rapes are not reported anywhere in the world. Most rapes are not reported. I think it's like 60% are not reported here in this country, but some people think it's closer to 80 or higher. So again, we don't allow our sisters to wallow in their insecurities and their vulnerabilities. We expect our sisters, even if it's a case of rape or molestation, to step up and to take control of their bodies and of their lives, because up to this point, before she gets married, she still has total control of this situation. And we do that because of the importance of our sisters. We expect our sisters to use their brains. We do not allow them to get caught up in their vulnerabilities. They are too important to the nation. It's tough love, yeah, but we also know, like I've said before, sisters will run in the opposite direction. You'll have 5 that'll agree to something that doesn't make any sense and one will speak up, and the 5 will overrule the 1. And y'all sisters see it all the time, even when it's a case of rape or molestation. Y'all see it, you see it, so you know what I'm talking about. Even in this situation, she may have played the whore in her father's household, and she's getting ready to get married. What her mother and father, of course, should do is say, are you still a virgin or not? And she might say, well, no, I'm not a virgin, but my fiance loved me so much. He knows too. He loves me. He would never drag me before the elders and have me stoned and say I wasn't a virgin. Now see, again, if the mom and daddy hear something like that, then they know they have a problem on their hands. They know they messed up somewhere. And they should step in and slam the brakes on that. And make sure she confesses, she gets covered. The people who need to know she's no longer a virgin, they know, including the husband already, the fiance already knows, but the judges, the priests, they know. And that's it. As long as it's on record. So that way when she gets married, the husband can't pop up and say, oh, she wasn't a virgin. If he does, everybody says, we already knew that. That's no, and you knew it too. So why are you jumping up now? Because we know, sisters, y'all know a sister that will say that. Even if she has the opportunity to come forward. Well, you might ask her, girl, you know how y'all start having them conversations. You know, girlfriend conversations. Oh, you still a virgin? No, you know I'm not a virgin. You know I was with so-and-so. So you gonna confess and so you can be covered? Girl, so-and-so loved me. He wouldn't do nothing like that. That's when you might want to slap her upside her head. Go tell her mom and her daddy before she do something stupid. Because I know sisters that would do that now. I know sisters with Ivy League degrees, with doctorate degrees, 4.0 magna cum laude, that would sit there and say, my man loved me. He would never turn me into the elder like that. We do not allow our sisters to be that soft in the head. They are too important. They really are. But see, that's not how y'all get this scripture. How y'all get this scripture, sisters, is y'all usually get it the way I explained it earlier, what a brother would say, well, see, that's when you divorce her. No. No. The ball is in your court still. The sisters still have an opportunity to step away, get covered, then get married. And as a matter of fact, her fiance, the man she's going to marry, if he knows she's not a virgin, if he really loved her, he would tell her to do that. Unless he's just dumb too. And most brothers ain't that dumb. They'll say, wait a minute, we never know what might happen in the future. Especially since you're coming in here, you might have been sleeping around, so you got the horse mindset. Let's let you go ahead and get covered. Just in case things go to make a turn for the worse. That's what a brother would do who has some brains. Because you never know. And what's important about that too is the counseling part of it, if I haven't already said it. That way she gets the counseling she needs if it's been rape or if she just played a whore in her father's household, so that when she comes into that marriage, just like the brother, there's one man, there's one woman who has some idea how important it is to not think like a whore and to not bring that victim mindset into that marriage, and they become one flesh, and you have a stable nation. See? Now, in the laws that I've just talked about so far, the women still have control over the situation. The men don't have any control over this, other than the fathers. They play a part in it. But the sisters still have control over these situations, and that's the way it's supposed to be. And it's a shame that sisters don't get it like that, because I know y'all don't. And I just explained the situation where that brother would have had y'all he would have had y'all in trouble. He would have had y'all over the barrel. But that's not the way that's set up. Now, there are laws that put brothers in charge of their household, of course. A man rules over his household, He can veto or he can turn down a purchase before the sun goes down, send something back to the store. It's things like that. But things like that are meant to stop not just Satan from getting into your household, but other nations. Because that's what other nations do. That's how they infiltrate other nations. They go in through the women and they influence the women. But that's what they do. Especially our sisters, who are, if they are trying to be virtuous women, some of them deal with merchants. That's what they do. Now, and I've talked about this before, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail. into this, and that's this virtuous women scripture. And that's Proverbs 31 and 10. And it is 10 through 31. It says, who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeketh wool and flax, and worketh willingly with her hands. She is like the merchant ships. She bringeth her food from afar. She riseth also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household, and a portion to her maidens. Verse 16, she considereth the field, and buyeth it with the fruit of her hands. She planteth a vineyard. She girdeth her loins with strength, and strengtheneth her arms. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good. Her candle goeth not out by night. She layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. She stretcheth out her hand to the poor, yea, she reacheth forth her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She maketh herself coverings of tapestry, her clothing is silk and purple. Her husband is known in the gates when he sitteth among the elders of the land. She maketh fine linen and selleth it, and delivereth girdles unto the merchant. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and her tongue is the law of kindness. She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. Her children arise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praiseth her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excelleth them all. Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Adonai, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. Now, this is probably the most disappointing to me, this scripture, in the way that sisters are portrayed and the vision that they're given. And it's no wonder you got sisters that would get out these congregations and go try to find their own way a lot of times. Because, and I've talked about this before, as a matter of fact, I put it in the video, that any man that would want another nation to feed and clothe him, other than having the women do it, which is actually their jobs, if you read that, is a fool. And I meant that. He's a fool. He really is. There's no doubt about it. Verse 13, she seeketh wool and flax, and worketh willingly with her hands. And it goes down further, and it talks about the distaff. The spindle, when her hands hold the distaff. I just uploaded some videos about working on that loom. I used to be a clothes horse, back in the day. And I thought I knew something about fabric and clothing. You know how you buy clothes and you buy all the polo and all that kind of stuff. Get your little Gucci, get your Gucci on and all that kind of stuff. When I started putting my hands on real woven fabrics on a loom, that's all I gotta say is, but a lot of sisters don't get it like that. When most brothers read, as a matter of fact, the same brother from that congregation here in Georgia, when he was reading some of this, I mean, he minimalized it to the point where, and then he didn't even talk about the sisters real good. See, sisters, brothers like his food fresh, put in front of you on the table, and brothers do, and a lot of sisters do that. But these sisters buying land, and they have servants. These sisters aren't just making clothes for their household. If they can build a business doing it, then those sisters are supposed to get loans. Those sisters are supposed to get employees. And what you're talking about too, when you're talking about going back to working on looms and sewing and making clothes, is you're actually talking about art and design. For y'all that don't know that, you're actually getting into textile sciences, which is why I'm glad I just made that I made a favorite on doing work on looms. you're getting into art and design, you're getting into textile sciences, you're actually getting into sciences and arts. That's what you're getting into. So it's not just sisters learning how to sit down and sew or patch the knee in your jeans, like I'm sure this brother was probably thinking. I had to throw a little jab out there, just a little bit. Even as you continue reading on through this, and it talks about giving meat to her household and portion to her maidens. And then you read on to where where she's buying her spices. She is like the merchant ship. She brings her food from afar. You know, I mean, again, you're getting into some more arts. You're getting into the culinary arts, is what you're getting into. And I was watching, matter of fact, I'm glad I ran into it. I'm watching Bev Smith. Now, she's like the Black Martha Stewart. I had no idea that that sister was opening up a restaurant. So I'm talking 10,000 square foot, high class, very nice restaurants. Blew my mind. Didn't know she was doing it like that. See, that's what our sisters are supposed to eventually be doing. But of course, they don't get it like that. For the most part, they hear, oh, well, you know, you just make sure you make that food good for your husband. And that's it. Okay, we're getting into culinary arts here. And then, of course, we get into her buying land and selling it. So we're getting into real estate. When we start getting into her growing food, we're getting into agriculture, another huge science. I mean, you talked about all types of sciences. And as I said in the previous video, we're talking about a lot of jobs being created. We're talking about a lot of education. We're talking about a lot of professions. And it's so sad that most sisters only hear, well, make sure you put that plate before your husband and the food tastes good. I mean, you know. Yeah, reading that scripture, the virtuous woman is one that really, I can understand why sisters, especially the real smart ones, because those are the ones that brothers fear the most. It's real intelligent sisters. And they say, well, wait a minute. There's more to this than what these brothers are saying. You know, and where they end up running out these congregations, or they end up looking up the scripture for themselves and trying to learn the law themselves, trying to learn wisdom themselves, trying to interpret it themselves, trying to learn about spiritual things themselves, which I haven't even made a video about that, but I probably will, I don't know. So I understand why these sisters do the things that they do, and I'm honestly not mad at them because of what brothers say, because how brothers teach these ways. They teach it from a very male, chauvinistic, know your place, but it's all dead ass wrong way, and they do it all the time, and it's really a hindrance. It really is. And it's sad, and I understand why, because most of these brothers are scared of sisters, especially the smart ones, you know. So I get that. But a lot of that comes from not understanding what the priest of the household does and what his job is, and brothers not even being taught about that correctly. That's where a lot of that comes from. So I just, like I said, I felt like I wanted to make this video as just kind of a reflection on some of the things that I have been seeing, how brothers teach the law concerning sisters. Because they don't, like I said, they talk about the law, they talk about holy days, dietary law, dress codes, and how to deal with, how to control sisters. That's pretty much it. So hopefully you all get a better perspective of the importance of our sisters and the things that they're supposed to be learning, and how important they are to nation building. Because as I said before, if you think that it's okay for any other nation to clothe and feed you, then you're an idiot. I mean, it's just that simple. You really are an idiot. I don't care what anybody has to say about that. It's a comment section down here. You know, if you're going to come correct. Especially y'all out there that's into multiple wives and concubines and all, because come correct. You know, do yourself a favor. I hope you all who are watching this video who are not Hebrew Israelites get something out of it. Hopefully those of you who are Hebrew Israelites, hopefully you learn how to be nation builders and think like nation builders, especially concerning our sisters. Remember the missing amongst our people, and I'm glad they found those girls, those young women. I tell you, a lot of these people are still out here alive, up in Cleveland, Ohio. Remember the widows, and please remember those orphans. Shalom. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is, like I said, I'm looking at different videos, and there was this conversation about concubines, and it kind of led out of the conversation of having multiple wives. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this subject, but anytime, well, here's what one of the comments said. One of the brothers, he's a Hebrew Israelite, one of his comments was, Muslims kept our law. Muslims got their law from us. Excuse me. Muslims got their law from us. So because Muslims have concubines, we can have concubines too. What? What did he just say? So I deal with the law pretty well. You know, I haven't been able to find concubines in this law. As a matter of fact, I haven't been able to find anything about multiple wives in here, let alone concubines. You know, I deal with there's so many of them. Maybe somebody can tell me where it is in here. I haven't been able to find it. Maybe somebody can remind me. Seriously. You know, we'll go into the comment sections and do that. Comment section and do that, please. Our basic structure is and always has been, and I've said it a few times already, one man come together with one woman and become one flesh. We do not pay extra. We do not subsidize. We do not help brothers have more than one wife. As a matter of fact, if you read through the scripture, the brothers who have more than one wife always caught some type of hell. Now, I know some people out there think that the polygamy is just the end all and be all. It's just a wonderful thing, and that's your prerogative, but it's not our basic structure as Hebrew Israelites. It never has been, and it never will be. You know, there's a comment section down here. If you want to come at me, be nice, please. Save yourself some drama and just be nice. But that's just not how it's ever been, and that's how it never will be. And one thing that I noticed a long time ago is most of the brothers who kind of get caught up in that tend to be in some type of deviant sexual type behavior. Especially when you start talking about concubines. When you start talking about concubines, I don't mean no harm, but you're talking about what we call here in Georgia side pieces. That's what we call them. How do I know? Because when I was a lot younger, I used to deal with side pieces. Hey, the old dude, he paying all the bills. He giving me anything he want. I don't have to pay anything. I go over there, smoke up all the good weed, drink all the good liquor, and they do, and we have our fun, and I keep it moving. And they tell me all about the dudes that's paying the bills. All the old dudes who wouldn't like me because I'm not paying for squat. But like that was a long time ago for those of y'all who are saying, I know he didn't just say that. Yeah, I did. That was a long time ago. So I know what time it is. I know brothers who have had multiple wives and who are successfully have multiple wives. I mean, are more than one woman staying with them. I also know a brother who had multiple wives and he had two wives. They put him out and this is very recent, and now they're still sleeping in the same bed together. But he's out the door. So, I figured this out years ago. You know, when I first heard brothers start talking about multiple wives, I was like, what's that really about? And like I said, I'm not saying some brothers out there cannot have a successful relationship when it comes to multiple wives, but I haven't seen it in the law. Definitely have not seen concubines in the law. And it usually leads to all types of deviant sexual behavior, including child molestation, which is something that I actually saw too with that type of behavior when you start talking about concubines, because these women are usually doing that to try to get some type of support in some way, shape, or form. Maybe, maybe not, but they're usually getting it, even if it's under the table and nobody knows about it. And what they end up doing is they end up giving up their daughters and sometimes their sons. They end up giving them up, you know, for whatever type of fantasy that man might have. So that was something else that I noticed. I mean, if you're a sister and you hear this type of stuff, I mean, what would you think? You know, how does that work for you? You know, and I'm gonna have to edit this in. I hope it edits in correctly. Just to let y'all know, I'm not a video expert, but whenever you hear anybody say that as Hebrew Israelites, our basic structure is one of polygamy, they are wrong. If that is the case, then Yah is, well, first of all, he created Adam and Eve. One man, one woman, come together, one flesh. Secondly, he dealt with the biggest whore ever, and he didn't go get another wife, and that's Yah. So that's not our structure. And anytime you hear somebody start talking about concubines, then you know that there will eventually be some serious deviant sexual behavior going on if it's not already happening. Period. I'm talking you, whatever you can imagine, that's probably what's happening. So I just had to throw that in there. And like I said, there's a comment section down there. Be nice, come correct. Don't get your feelings hurt.